Hello, good evening, nice people. Welcome to my class, The Daily Current Affairs. My name is Pooja Dwivedi. Today we are going to solve together many important current affairs problems. Now, this is the Daily Current Affairs which premieres at 6 p.m. on a daily basis. So if you're new to this channel, make sure you are a subscriber to it so that you can get the notifications. Also, do not worry about making notes because here I want to just make sure that you are learning and not just jotting down the points, because I provide the notes through my Telegram channel that is available through my Telegram channel, Pooja Dwivedi UPSC. If you have any queries regarding this examination, you can also talk to me on my Instagram. So I asked a question with respect to Article 48. Many of you have answered it correctly. So I will take your names by the end of this class. Moving ahead, which of the following articles of the Indian Constitution provides for the organization of agriculture and animal husbandry? Article 45, 46, 47, 48. It's a directive principle of state policy and it's a Gandhian article. It's a Gandhian directive principle of state policy. When Gandhiji knew the importance of rural India, okay, Article 48, option D says that we must organize agriculture and animal husbandry on modern scientific lines. We must continue to improve the breed and the breed stock because eventually it will help the agriculture and the farmers. Also, among other things, it prohibits the slaughter of cows, calves and other milch and draught cattle. Prohibits as in it is the endeavor of the state to do it. Moving on. Article 48A talks about the protection and improvement of environment and safeguarding of forest and wildlife. So remember the difference between 48 and 48A. Okay. With respect to simultaneous elections in India, consider the following statements. For the first elections in 1952 until 1967, elections were held simultaneously across the country. That means the Lok Sabha elections were conducted at the same time as that of state legislative assemblies from 1952 to 1967. Kerala was the first state to break the synchronization of simultaneous elections. Tamil Nadu was the first state to elect a non-Congress party. So how many of the states given above is or are not correct? This is true. Because Congress was an all-dominant party in the entire country. So, for a time period, it enjoyed this position of being both at the center and in the states. And it has given India a lot of stability during that time. This has been one of the reasons because of which India could develop at a very fast pace. Because stability is very important whenever a country has to develop economically. And for this very reason, Congress enjoyed this position. And Congress has claimed that because of this very reason, India has developed and moved leaps and bounds. This is true. So first is definitely correct. But it was Kerala who for the first time, which was the first state that elected a non-Congress party. And that party, I will tell you the name as well. Kerala actually was the first state because of this to break the synchronization of simultaneous election. Why? Because it was dissolved. The state legislative assembly was dissolved after a period of time and hence it came under precedence rule and hence this entire cycle of simultaneous election for all the state legislative assemblies and the Lok Sabha, it was broken. First is correct, second is correct, third is not correct because it is Kerala instead of Tamil Nadu. How many are not correct? One only option, that is statement third is not correct. The Law Commission of India is set to submit a report to recommend simultaneous elections. That could be as early as 2024 or definitely by 2029 in 2029 elections. Other reports are also being submitted, the minimum age of consent under POCSO and recommendation of a law to provide for online filing of first information reports. From the first election in 1952 until 1967, elections were held simultaneously in the country, but in 1957, Kerala elected the first non-Congress government, that was the Communist Party of India. And it was the only state where Communist Party of India fared better in Lok Sabha and Assembly, okay, and the state legislative assembly. But Kerala's assembly was also the first to be dissolved in 1959. It came under precedence rule, so it broke the synchronized cycle of elections. In 1967, the Lok Sabha elections, it went further down. How? When it comes to simultaneous elections. There were many states where Congress ceased to remain the party in power. Different other parties came into existence. So they no longer aligned with the Lok Sabha polls. Now only 4 states now hold simultaneous elections with Lok Sabha. Which are these? Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim. The arguments in favor of conducting simultaneous elections is, first of all, the entire country is almost in an election mode for every year, and this creates problem for administration. First that. Secondly, it will save a lot when it comes to the expenses on elections. More policy continuity can take place between the center and the state, but there is also a threat of one party remaining in dominance for both the union and the states, and the regional problems and the regional parties that are there to solve the regional problems, they can get sidelined. So there are pros and cons of everything. Consider the following statements with respect to the Armed Forces Special Powers Act of 1958. We have to choose the incorrect statement. Initially, an ordinance was promulgated to tackle disturbed areas. Later on, it was replaced by an act. The Home Minister is empowered to declare an area of the state as disturbed area. Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland and Tripura are mentioned in the Act for implementation. That means these states have been explicitly written under the Act that we can declare disturbed areas in parts of these many states. And disturbed area means an area which is for the time being declared by notification under which section? Section 3 of the to be the disturbed area under the Act. Okay, so AFSPA has been in the news because in certain districts of Arunachal Pradesh, in the parts of those districts, as well as Nagaland, the Home Minister has said that we have to extend the status. And AFSPA has one of the most critical laws in India. That means it has gotten a lot of criticisms. Moving on. Initially, yes, an ordinance was promulgated so that any region which is disturbed can be tackled. Later on, it was replaced by a bill, thereafter an act. So first is definitely correct. The Home Minister, no. It is according to the act we have to go, right? Act says that it is the governor who is empowered to declare an area of the state as disturbed area. So it is not the governor, it is not the Home Minister, but the governor. Okay, remember that. Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland and Tripura are explicitly mentioned in the Act because Northeast region was the region that was highly disturbed due to insurgency. And disturbed area means an area which is for the time being declared so under the section 3 of the Act. Sometimes it can happen that sections, factual questions can definitely be asked. Of course, it's a harmonious mix, the prelims exam, a harmonious, beautiful mix of both the concept and the fact. So we have to mix them up. All right. So first is correct, second is incorrect, third is correct, fourth is correct. B will be the correct answer over here. The Union Home Minister has extended for another 6 months the disturbed area status in Arunachal Pradesh and Nagaland under the sections of the Armed Forces Special Powers Act of 1958 in Tirap, Changlang and Longding districts of Arunachal Pradesh and Dimapur, Newland, Chomuk, Kedima, Mon, Kifire, Noklak, Fake and Peren districts of Nagaland and the other areas as well. Ordinance entitled the Armed Forces Special Powers Ordinance was promulgated by the President in 1958, but later on it was replaced, and the explicit mention of Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram and Tripura, it has been mentioned under the Act. With respect to the Moon Agreement of 1979. Now we are going back to the era of Moon again. It was in the 1960s and 70s, even in our country, we saw that so many songs with respect to Moon were made. Now, again, we are going back to the Moon. Now, when we are exploring the Moon, there have been, issues regarding the militarization of space and non-peaceful use of the Moon. Because now, why we are landing there? So that we can see if we can have installations over here, if we can make colonies over here, so that from there onwards we can explore more planets. It is another fear that area of the Moon can be used for military purposes as well. So Moon Agreement of 1979, consider the following statements. The use of military personnel for scientific research or for any other peaceful purposes is not prohibited. That means if for scientific research we need military personnel on the Moon, it is not prohibited by the Moon Agreement of 1979. State parties are committed to inform the UN Secretary General of their activities concerned with the exploration and use of the moon. If we supposedly India wants to explore the moon for certain purposes, they have to inform the UN Secretary General. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Moon agreement was adopted through a resolution on December 5th, 1979, and this was through an initiation by whom? By the Soviet Union. So the military purposes, it can, any region in the outer space cannot be used for militarization. If we have to build military installations on the moon, this is military installation, it is prohibited. No, you cannot do it. But if we have to do peaceful scientific research on the moon, we can do that. If we are needing military personnel for it, yes, it's not prohibited. So first is definitely correct, although it may seem like this is incorrect. But no, for peaceful and research purposes, if a military personnel is needed, the treaty doesn't prohibit it. Alright, so first is correct. And yes, second is also correct. There is nothing very explanatory over here. So first is correct, second is also correct. Both 1 and 2 will be the correct answer. Right, recently the United States Space Force has said that they may bring out a hotline with China to prevent any crises in space. These are very huge spacefaring nations, and these are the most likely nations that are going to militarize the outer space. Although it has been said that with China, they haven't explored this opportunity. A hotline is an emergency line that is created between two nations for specific purposes. All right. So yes, China right now is not in the process, but United States has said that they are exploring this possibility. So if there is any crisis, they can talk easily. The moon agreement, I have told you about this much. Demilitarization of the moon is one of the things that this treaty wants to achieve. We have already militarized the earth. We do not need to militarize the space. It's a complementary to the outer space treaty. Prohibits the use or threat of use of force or any other hostilities or threat of hostile action on the moon. We cannot say that, oh, your installation is on the moon. USA, China says that I will destroy that installation. You cannot do that. That's hostile action. You cannot put missiles on the moon. You cannot put any weapons on the moon, specifically nuclear weapons or other sort of weapons near the orbit as well. It forbids the establishments of military bases, installations and fortifications on the moon. The testing of any type of weapon, testing cannot be done. But the use of military personnel for scientific research or for any other peaceful purpose is not prohibited. Consider the following statements about Koftgiri metal craft. It is used in making ornamental weaponry. It can be both an inlay and overlay art. And then Karnataka has got a geographical indication tag for Koftgiri metal craft. What do we have to see? How many of the statements given above is or are correct? Beautiful weaponry art it is. If you have seen the movie Bajirao Mastani, here we see the Koftgiri metal craft. So yes, first is correct. It's used for ornamental weaponry. And it can be used both, it can be both an inlay or overlay. Overlay means outer, inlay means inward. Karnataka, no, it is Rajasthan that has got a geographical indication tag for this. So first is correct, second is correct, third is not correct. Two only will be the correct answer. The Udaipur Koftgiri metal craftsmen practice the ancient art of Koftgiri, which is used in making ornamental weaponry. This is such a beautiful ornamental weaponry, and Udaipur, it has an experience and expertise over this. Also, the Koftgiri metal craftsmen use base metal. The selected item for Koftgiri is scratched with a knife, which is chirni, and it is a very close hatch pattern. Then fine silver wire is inlaid with the help of pointed tool, which is called salai, in the etched grooves to make an outline for the pattern. And this pattern or craft can be seen in Udaipur and Chittorgarh as well. Koftgiri princely daggers are also considered a very auspicious part of the rituals in marriages and cultural family functions. It can be both an inlay or overlay art. It refers to an action of beating the pattern into the iron, and an art of inlaying light metal on a dark one to provide a surface with ornamental appearance with elaborate and lavish chiseling gold or silver leaf. That means both gold or silver leaf is used. Now UPSC can also ask you what is salai. Okay, so remember what is salai. So UPSC can formulate many questions. If one topic is given, 5 questions can be formulated. Do you know that? So it's all about matching it. Remember, make sure that you are solving MCQs on a daily basis. Then only your mind will get molded accordingly. If you're not doing that and you're just joining test series like very close to May, it's not going to help you. And prelims is the most challenging part of the entire examination process because it doesn't have any fixed syllabus. It's like etc etc. Mains has a fixed syllabus, but prelims doesn't. Moving on, Rajasthan, I've already told you it has got the GI indication, and this is under subsection 1 of section 13 of the Geographical Indication of Goods Act 1999. With respect to the appointment of judges to the High Courts, consider the following statements. The HC Collegium, High Court Collegium, which consists of Chief Justice of the High Court and 2 other senior most judges. Supreme Court Collegium is 1 plus 4, Chief Justice and the 4 other senior most judges of the Supreme Court. HC Collegium makes the recommendation to the state government. The center gives the names to the Intelligence Bureau to conduct background checks. The SC Collegium goes through the IB report and recommends the name to the center for appointment, and the center cannot send the file back to the collegium for reconsideration. How many statements given above is or are correct? All the 3 statements are correct. I will explain you the entire process as well. But the center can send the file back to the collegium if they are not satisfied with the name. But if the collegium reiterates, no, these are the people we want to promote as judges to the High Court, then center will do it. It has to do it. It is bound by the opinion, although no fixed time limit is there that you have to do it within 70 days, 20 days, 15 days. And this is one of the biggest criticism. So it is an issue with pendency that I have brought to your notice this particular question. How many statements given above is or are correct? 1, 2, 3 are correct, but 4th is not. 3 only will be the correct answer. The Supreme Court is very upset over the pendency of the recommendations that have been made for the appointment and transfer of High Court judges to the center. It is, because there is no fixed time limit, this is the problem. For the appointments or elevation to the High Court Collegium makes the recommendation to the state government. Then the state government sends the names to the center with its input. If state government has any inputs over the people they are choosing or for transfer or appointment, state government can do that. A question can be made from here as well. And the center gives the names to the Intelligence Bureau to do the background check. Then the Intelligence Bureau will send it to the Supreme Court Collegium. Supreme Court Collegium goes through the IB report, makes recommendation to the center. Now the center can either accept all these appointments or can send it back to the collegium if there is any changes that the center seems to be fit. And the collegium has the right to reiterate the names sent back by the center. The collegium is not like, made intimidated by the center. No, we have to change name. Center has said so, no. But if the collegium reiterates the name, the center is bound to appoint the candidate. Here is the problem. There is no time limit that is fixed for doing so. And this translates into the pendency of cases as well. So this is one of the problems that both the executive and the judiciary has to sit on the table and talk it out. Moving on. Consider the following statements. The theme for the World Tourism Day 2023 is tourism and green investment. The travel market in India is projected to reach $125 billion by financial year 2027. The Travel and Tourism Development Index of 2021 ranks India at 54th position. So, how many of the statements given above is or are correct? On 27th September every year, to mark the importance of the tourism industry, we celebrate the World Tourism Day. Today is the World Tourism Day. And for this, we have the theme, tourism and green investment. Tourism should be sustainable, respecting the environment. And India is a huge industry for tourism. So many people are dependent on it. It is so much so that by 2027, our industry will be a whopping $125 billion industry when it comes to tourism. Also, the Travel and Tourism Development Index of 2021 ranked India at 54th, which was down from the year 2020 break, which was down from the year 2019. How many statements given above is or are correct? You have to tell me. The index for 2019 ranked India at what position? So, first is correct, second is correct, third is also correct. All three will be the correct answer. I have told you today is the World Tourism Day. The theme is tourism and green investment. Who is hosting it? Saudi Arabia is hosting it, because sometimes UPSC can ask us about this much as well. Saudi Arabia is the host. Total contribution is there by the tourism industry in India's GDP. It is of 178 billion US dollars. And the travel market is very huge. It will be a whopping 125 US billion dollars by the year 2027. International tourist arrival by 2028 is expected to be 30.5 million. World Economic Forum releases the index, Travel and Tourism Development Index of 2021, and India is at 54th position, and India still remains at the top when it comes to tourism in South Asia. In the world, Japan is first and Chad is the last, 170. Now, the Karunya Arogya Suraksha scheme is a health scheme for which of the following states? Kerala, Odisha, Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan. You have to tell me the answer correctly in the comment segment. Let me tell you one more thing about the P2I batches which we have already launched. 22nd, from this date onwards, we have launched the P2I batches. But I am expecting you to take admission before 30th, because 30th is the last date to take admission. These P2I batches will help you not only for your GS but also CSAT, ethics, essay, language papers, interviews as well. Then we have a studyIQ campus program. If you qualify UPSC 2024, you will be called to the studyIQ campus to prepare for the mains examination for 4 months free of any charges. So we will meet together at studyIQ campus. Please do take admission. Make sure you have 3 different batches to take admission in English. If you're an English student, that will be completely in English. Hindi for Hindi students, and then we have English batch. It costs 70,000, but if you use the code PDLive, it will be made available to you at 29,999 only. Alright, let me take the names of those students who have answered my last question correctly. Yes, Manish Kumar has answered it correctly. Simran has answered it correctly. Then Kanishk has answered it correctly. Sunil has answered it correctly. Kushal, Selva, Shubham, Vaibhav, Omkar, Pallav, Nikhil, Riya, thank you Pallav. Riya, thank you so much. Mansi, Team Aram has, no, which question have you answered? Then Team Aram has answered option D correctly. Then Kanchan has answered it correctly. Shubham has answered it correctly. Padmashri has answered it correctly. Thank you so much, Padmashri. Arun has answered it correctly. My goodness has answered it correctly. Thank you so much. Mallinath, Shubham, Abhishek, Swati, Tejas, Anfas, Sidhu, Utkal, Kaushik, and my mobile phone. Thank you for answering the last question. Answer this as well. Stay updated.